Hey guys, DJ Bean here, and I'm here in Sydney, Australia with my good friend
Tom Budin.
What's going on, bro?
Not much, man. What's been happening, Stan? I heard that you moved to London and left us all in the dust, my friend.
Yes, I work at Point Blank Music School now, and that is what you guys are tuned into right now, and we are about to go and work on a track in FL Studio. We're going to check out what Tom Budin's workflow is like. Let's get a banger going, eh?
A banger?
Yeah.
What kind of banger? Like future house banger?
Yeah, future house. Whatever makes you happy, man.
Dope. Alright, no worries. First things first, I think the easiest thing to start with when you're writing house music is drums, because they're the same mostly between every track, so it'll always be the easiest starting point. I use a lot of Vengeance Deep House Essential stuff because it's straight from the back, you don't have to edit a lot of it, so just put a kick in. So basically I'm dragging this sample into the pattern roll. This is the place where you lay down all of your beats and you put your samples in, and you can also link your samples to what's called a mixer channel, which is here. And then you use these to put effects and sends. First of all, just laying down some drums. So putting a kick drum in, just clicking 4 little boxes. And if we place the metronome, this little thing here, you can hear that the kick hits on the same beat as the little metronome. So if I mute the kick, you can hear help you get in time with the beat. And if we put the kick down, and basically that's like a super basic sort of starting point for anyone who wants to get into FL Studio. And then the other instruments you'll probably need is a clap, a cymbal, like a hi-hat, and those are basically the most of the drum instruments you need. It all becomes like a layering thing and like, you know, a technique thing, like where you have to layer different sounds together and see which ones work, and that's why FL is so good, because you can middle click these samples and replace them instantly. Basically, if I put these hi-hats in,
again, a very, very basic pattern was you put the hi-hat on the offbeat.
Yeah, on the offbeat.
Kick, hi-hat, then kick, hi-hat.
Yep, and just like DJing, we break those parts up into 4. It's all sort of mathematical, so it's 1s, 2s, 4s, 8s, 16, 32, sort of like a computer, how, you know, RAM is in the same sort of sequence.
It's a very specific analogy there.
So yeah, so basically it'll be kick, hat, and then all we'd probably need after that is maybe a clap, some sort of like nice kind of sounding clap.
Why is that clap lit up but like nothing comes out of it?
Basically this, I've already set FL to have a sidechain channel prepared, so I don't have to make one.
Okay.
We'll get into that a bit later if we have time, and yeah, so basically I think I like this clap here. So the clap always comes on the offbeat, so kick, clap, click, kick, clap, unless I guess you're making big room, then it's clap, 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 clap. It depends on what type of music you're making, what type of house music, but this is a good starting point for us, you know, 125 BPM, and then now we've got a basic loop like this. And now we can go ahead and we can select the pattern, which is selected now. You can see it says pattern 1 there, and then this is this is called the pattern roll. So this
basically like a sequencer.
Yeah, basically
FL sequencer.
The sequencer is separate, but you can also put samples straight into this. But I find it's a lot easier on Fruity to write it in the pattern roll first. But we'll go into that a bit later as well. So what I'm using is the paste tool now. So now I've got this full beat, and now you can see that I've got 4 boxes here. And in this little button here, switches between looping this little pattern and then looping this actual sequencer itself. Now we're looping this loop here. You can see this little bar move across at the bottom. And then now if we swap it over where that button's not lit, then you'll start to see this little green button kind of moving across the screen, and that's indicating where you are and where the track's playing. And I'm just going to quickly save this. Make sure to always save your stuff as you go, because there have been countless times where I've lost the best work and then have never been able to replicate it properly, and it's been pretty shit. But FL Studio has autosave functionality as well, so make sure to turn that on, because it will save your ass. You know, I'll guarantee it will save your ass at some time. So for example, you can just hit save new version, and then it won't overwrite the old file, so in case you want to go back to it, you've always got that file there.
Like a version 2.
Exactly right. Yeah. So
sick.
So yeah, if I want to put a hi-hat loop in, then what I can do is I can drag this sample straight in, and then you'll see it doesn't quite line up with the pattern precisely, and you're probably thinking like, how do I do this? And there's two ways you can do it.
Well, the reason why it doesn't do that first is because that loop
out of
itself
tempo.
is not the same tempo as the track that you're writing right now.
Exactly right.
Which is 125. Chances are that's probably 126.
Yeah. So what we can do is we can change the tempo of the track, but the problem with doing that is if you've got different samples of different tempos, then you're never gonna be able to line them up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stay at 125, and then what we can do here is double click the sample, and then drag this little time knob until it lines up with the grid properly. You can see it's lined up nicely. And then we just go through here into this mode function, and then just change it to whatever sort of makes the sound the crispiest. So, for example, generic works with everything. Speech works with mostly vocal stuff and vocals. Mono is best for trying to get the same transient from a different key. You'll sort of, as you experiment with it, you'll realize sort of what the different functionalities do and what they'll sort of sound like. But basically, I'm just going to do generic, and then if we listen here, and I'll turn the volume down a little bit. So now we've got basically a loop and some hi-hats and stuff going, and now we can go through and make sure that these kicks and claps and stuff, we can make sure that they're sent to a mixer channel. So if you see here, you can see all the waves happening at the same time, and if you hold control and click mute, then you can isolate, so for example, the kick, then that will come through and you can see that, the hi-hat. And to get your sounds to end up on this mixer, what you have to do is choose these little numbers on the side here, and they correspond to the numbers on these mixer channels. So it goes anywhere from 0 to 100. I've actually never gotten to 100, so I don't know if it has more or less. The quick way to do this is just hit track underneath, and it will find the newest free track that you can use. And now the kick drum is this straight in a mixer channel, and it's ready to sort of mix. And one thing to keep in mind as well is make sure to have all your samples sent to a mixer channel, because FL Studio runs in a new way where if you have things just on the pattern roll and don't have them in the mixer channels, they actually won't be in time with each other, because one will have latency and one won't. So it's best to just keep everything in a mixer channel. It wasn't like that with the older FL Studios, but to prevent latency issues and to help the program run better, they've chosen to make it runs through a different sort of module. It's good practice anyway to send your sounds, send all your sounds to mixer channels, because then you can go in and individually mix them, and it makes life a lot easier anyway. Now we've got a basic beat going. I don't really like that loop, so what we can go through and do is we can go into this folder, and then we can middle click, and then that will replace the sample. And if you just saw there, the sample just got replaced. So now if I hit play and I just keep scrolling through and changing them, it's a super quick way of finding which samples you really like. That's nice, I like that. Kind of got a nice little ring to it. So now we've got a beat there, so we've got a place to start making an actual song from, because we can sort of go through and we can take the kick out and make some different sort of sounds. But my go-to is probably going to be, what do you think, Ravine? Silent, Serum, Massive?
Let's go Serum.
Serum is a great FM synth. It's got AM synthesis, frequency modulation. It's got ring mod. It's got every different thing that you can possibly imagine in one package, and you can get sounds out of this that sound good even before putting effects on them. Because it's got the inbuilt effects here, and you can get some crazy stuff happening.
If you guys don't have Serum, definitely go and check it out. You can, I think, if you get Splice,
you can get the demo too.
Well, if you get Splice, I think there's a demo on that. And Splice, you can do this thing called rent to own, which is sick.
Yeah.
You basically pay like a certain amount of money each month, and then once you get to the point where you've paid enough money for Serum,
then you own it. Yeah, it's awesome.
It's a great synth, so you guys should definitely go check that out. But let's get
into it. So basically, let's just say, we want to make some charmy style future house. Like, how are we going to do this? And I would say it's actually easy, very easy in Serum because of the way that it's designed. So I'm going to use this envelope to create a sort of short kind of decayed sound, which is a nice sort of length to it. And then all I have to go and do literally to make sort of like a sort of you like it sort of charmy sound, just go to sync window, turn this up, and then you can get like, you know, and then you're basically charming already. So like, so, you know, all you'd have to really add after that is maybe some reverb, some slight chorusing, a bit of distortion, like to get it happen, like to get the sound a bit thicker. Maybe I'll add the multiband too. It might make the sound a bit too harsh, so. Yeah.
So each one of those things does something different. So distortion obviously distorts the sound.
Yeah.
Chorus gives it like a
chorus sort of spreads. It spreads the stereo, but it layers another. It layers the oscillator with itself. So if I hold this note, I'll show you what it does. In fact, let's automate that with this LFO. Fuck yeah, that's awesome. You know?
So what an LFO does is that it plays like a wave in time, and then that wave will automate a function automatically for you. You can just imagine that as somebody actually turning that knob for you in that pattern.
Essentially, yeah. I basically broke this LFO, so I'm just gonna do another one.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. Okay, so now I feel like I can now adjust this sort of envelope a bit shorter. So now that we're sort of got a kind of idea of where we want our sound to go and how it's sounding, pretty nice. What we can do now is we use the pattern roll to lay down notes, to lay down MIDI notes. MIDI notes are either these or a piano roll, and that will basically tell the synth to work and to do what it needs to do. So to get to that screen, go to the pattern roll. Remember that from the start where we dragged our samples. Right click and hit piano roll. And now this big piano comes up, and we can put notes anywhere, and then these notes will play in time as the pattern moves forward. So
they're basically instructions for FL Studio to know what notes to play and at what time.
Exactly right, for sure. So now we can go ahead and start writing a melody. What I usually like to do is say, okay, what key do I want my melody to be in? And then...
What's a common one for like dance music, you would say?
I would say like anywhere between E to A is a pretty standard place to go, because you don't have to edit your sounds quite significantly to get a thick sound. When you move between like D sharp to maybe B flat, you might find that the sound might sound a bit high or low when it comes to bass and pumping stuff.
It's kind of like one of those caveats of making dance music. It's because it's so like bass orientated and like and all those frequencies specifically reside in a certain area.
Yeah.
All right, you pick a key. Your favorite key?
G.
G. All right, so
what I've done is I've activated this metronome so I can hear when the notes come in respect to the beat that we've just written. So I'm basically just writing a melody I remember in my head just to make it a bit quicker. So. So basically we've got a melody now. Now we can go ahead and change our sound up a little bit to get it sounding exactly where we want it to. And the cool thing about having the sound playing is you can hear how it's going to sound. So I'm going to go through and make some changes to the sound, so just bear with me for a few seconds. Basically what I did is I edited the LFO to make the chorus effect a bit more significant in the sound, and then that went and spread the sound to the sides and rounded the sound off. So if I turn this effect off, it's a bit harsh in the top ends. So if I turn it back on, it's nice rounded.
If you're starting out, okay, I mean, don't think too much on this if you can't get those right sounds. I mean, this is from years and years of, like,
literally, guys. Like, I've been producing for almost 11 years now. Just know that consistency and time are what's going to get you there at the end.
And also, just like playing around, seriously, like, you're not going to really break a software synth.
Yeah, exactly right.
Just mess around with those knobs and see if you like the sound.
Exactly, and the best thing is to save frequently as well and save new files. So if you accidentally change something and you don't know sort of how you made it, then you can always go back and change the sound. Now I've got a melody written, so now I'm like, oh yeah, cool. I can go and select the pattern again, like we did with the kicks, and then now just paste the melody in like that. And now if we play them together, you'll hear that they'll collide a little bit because there's no sidechain. So if we listen to it. So you're probably thinking like, how can I get that to like really bounce nicely with the kick drum? And I'll explain that to you in the simplest way I can, and I'll run you through how you can do it in FL Studio without any external things. Because people usually use the gross beat, they use LFO tool, Kickstart. But those programs cost a bit of money, and if you're just starting out, you know...
And you only really have FL Studio, and you can only pick one sim. I probably would pick Serum too as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
we all know, you know, we all broke that.
So basically, what I do is we have these things called sends, and basically you can group all your sounds to one mixer channel, and then with that you can go ahead and edit a bunch of sounds with just one effects plugin, which will heavily reduce your CPU usage.
It's also really good creatively if you want to make everything have the same effect.
Yeah, for sure. And if you want to make sounds sit together particularly. I'm just going to show you how to create a sidechain send. So what this is going to do is this is going to push the volume underneath the kick as the kick happens, and it's going to pull it back up at the end of the kick.
Imagine this is the song level, right? And say whenever I hit like this is a kick, it'll go like this. Like that. Yeah. And when the kick's finished, it'll go back up.
Yeah.
It's a trick that pretty much everyone uses now to firstly give the kick more power.
Yeah.
So it has more space in the track.
Correct.
And also it just sounds cool.
Yeah. What I'll do is I'll start with the carrier signal. So what this will do is this will be the sound that makes your audio dip. I call this a ghost channel because we're gonna make no volume come out of it. We're just gonna send a signal. I'm just using this clap. So that's my clap. It's a nice short clap. If you look at the shape of it, it's a very sort of short, it just kind of goes like that. What I'm going to do is just hit track, and because that's going to take us to our newest free mixer channel. Then what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to right click on this send that we were talking about before, insert 100. Now that we've got this on its own little mixer channel, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this little triangle, route to this track only. And then if I play the sound, you can see now the sound isn't routed to the master anymore. It's routed to this send. But we don't want to hear it. So what we do is we just turn that down. And now you see how there's a signal here, but nothing's coming out. We're still sending a signal there for it to compress, but we can't hear it anymore. So that's going to be good because you won't be able to hear what you're sidechaining it to, which is kind of counterproductive if you're trying to make the mix cleaner and you're going to put more sounds in. So what I do is I just start with a initialized Fruity limiter because it's the easiest way and the most straightforward way to do it. So what I do is just go into the comp section, turn the threshold all the way down. So that's how much the volume's going to dip. The knee is how much it pops back up. The ratio is how many times we're compressing the sound, and if you turn the ratio down, the sound will have less compression. Then all I'm going to do is choose the channel that we have our carrier signal on, channel 11. Make sure to keep that in mind, and then make sure that it says 11 here. Now, we want the sidechain to happen at the same time as the kick drum, so we're just going to make sure that in the pattern roll, the clap is always on the same time as the kick. If we listen now, you're not gonna hear any difference because we're not hearing the audio. But now what we can do is we can find this sound that we made and isolate it. And we know that it's on channel 10. Now what we're gonna do, right click, route to this track only. And now we're not gonna turn this down because we wanna hear this sound. And now if we play all the sounds together, and if I pull up the limiter, what you'll see is happening is sidechaining. So if I move this. Now if I turn it off.
You can even see it visibly happening, exactly. So when it's turned on, when you play.
If we turn the release down a bit, the time that the sample drops for will be shortened. If you adjust the threshold a little bit as well, it will adjust how much the sound's dipping and stuff like that. But we want
to just play around with it. Yeah, but I mean, exactly. I think it sounded really good when it was going all the way down.
Alright, cool. Now we've got a cool melody happening, but it's not sounding thick on the low end because we've got such a high sound. So what I'm going to do is, for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to make another serum, and I'm just going to make a very basic, so if you click up here, you can choose a bunch of waves. I'm just going to use a sine wave, which is nice for a sub, very clean. I'm just going to copy, so right click on this box, copy, and then paste, and then what that will do is that will just copy the melody straight over. And now we've got a little sub here. There's a bit of click in there, so I'm just going to adjust the attack and the release to get rid of the clicks.
Just as a quick way of explaining what attack does, it makes the sound start a slight bit later.
Yeah, basically.
It's like a little bit of a fade in.
It fades it in instead of just like chopping it.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to do this little track thing as well. So now it's on track 12. I'm also going to send that to the send. And now if we listen to the two sounds together, and we can adjust the octave of this as well. So an octave is 12 semitones. So now we listen to that, that sounded fat. We want to get some thickness from the channel. We want to hear that sub more, get some overdrive, blood overdrive. Make sure your sound's sent to a mixer channel, and then click on that channel to make sure it's selected, and then left click a slot, and then all your installed effects will pop up. For example, this time we're going to be using blood overdrive, so we'll just click
it's free
that.
with Fruity Loops.
Comes with Fruity Loops as well.
So old,
dude,
man.
it's so old, but listen to how, if I hold control again and click this little green button, it will isolate the mixer channel as well, so we can just hear it. You can hear, like, obviously if you push it, obviously if you push that, you know, you'll get a lot of distortion, but it's good for just squaring up the waveform to make sure it punches through the mix a bit more. So now if we listen to it, and now if we play everything together, we got a track, man. Like,
thank you guys so much for watching this video on FL Studio, but unfortunately here at Point Blank we don't actually teach FL Studio. We only do Ableton Logic, but that's not all we teach. We also teach things such as music business, sound design, and audio for games. So check us out at pointblankmusicschool.com to find out more. And also stay tuned, where we'll be coming out for part 2 and we actually sequence this into a full track. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.